8:37 a.m. and it's time now to focus on corporal punishment, where we've heard about two mothers who obviously have taken the teachers' organization to court, and we joined this morning by the Center for Child Law at the University of Pretoria, one of the directors there. We're joined by Karabo Ozah. Karabo, good morning to you and welcome to the show.
Good morning and thank you for having me.
Karabo, this latest development now with regard to corporal punishment, we see two mothers taking the teachers' organization, which is the South African Council for Educators, to court. And let's just, before we get to some of the key issues surrounding corporal punishment in itself, just some background as to what has actually taken place.
Okay, so we have two learners. One was doing grade 2, one was doing around grade 5. The grade 2 was 7 years old and the other one was 10 years old. When around 2015, they were subjected to corporal punishment, two different schools, obviously. And the 7-year-old was hit so hard on the head with a PVC pipe that after a few days, he started complaining of headaches and eventually went to hospital and was in 2 weeks, for 2 weeks in hospital because he had a brain injury that the hemorrhage that could be linked with the corporal punishment he had received. And then you have the 10-year-old who was smacked across her face and actually started bleeding through her ears from that slapped through her face by a teacher, and also had to be in like 4 hospitals before she became better. She still does have challenges in relation to her ears, but it's not clear whether she will have very long-term challenges. So those are the facts. Obviously, then there were processes that were attempted at school level by the school governing bodies, and those yielded nothing. And eventually, when the parents approached Section 27, who are attorneys in the matter, then the process for going through SAFE started, which led to these outcomes that we now challenging in the high courts together with the parents.
But now we know corporal punishment in schools has been outlawed for the last 24 years. And as far as the teachers' organization is concerned, we're talking of the South African Council for Educators. And this is, they basically central to this entire or these 2 episodes of corporal punishment that have taken place. Now, as far as safety is concerned, where do their responsibilities lie as far as corporal punishment goes and as far as teachers and their behavior goes as well?
Yeah, so I think, as you say, so we have abolished corporal punishment since 1996. Obviously, there was a court case that tried to say some people wanted for religious reasons, and the Constitutional Court said, no, that cannot be allowed. So then what SAFE is supposed to be doing is obviously holding teachers accountable when they do use corporal punishment. And last year, the year before, SAFE actually said of their complaints about teacher misconduct, corporal punishment was still the highest complaints that they received, which is very problematic. So now that's where now the question comes, what are the repercussions when teachers do use corporal punishment? And we've seen in the cases that we're talking about today that there were some this in relation to being removed from the teacher's role. So they said, okay, you are removed from the teacher's role, but this sanction is suspended for a period of 10 years. If you do commit a similar offense, that's when they'll be removed. And secondly, they were given a 15,000 rand fine, of which 10,000 rand was also suspended for 10 years. So they have to pay 5,000 rand to SAFE. I don't know what SAFE does with the money. But our government, since we abolished corporal punishment, the Department of Education, in our view, has not done enough to help teachers to promote positive discipline, to help with how we understand children better, and how when we see that children are maybe showing behavior that may need intervention by social workers, how we assist them so that you don't have teachers resorting to corporal punishment. So that is a big thing in relation to the Department of Education, that there hasn't been enough done and invested in helping teachers with positive discipline. That doesn't justify beating children, because we have reports that we quote in our papers that show that some teachers actually come with equipment from home with the intention of using it to beat children at school, and that is very worrying in our country where we have such high rates of violence.
Just as far as how common or how rife is corporal punishment in schools, Karabo, do we have any idea? Do we have any statistics?
The last stats we have that we've quoted in our papers to the court was that in 2018, when they did the general household survey and learners were interviewed, about 7% of learners, which amounted to about 1 million, had been subjected to corporal punishment in the period of 2018. So you can imagine that it is quite high. And as I told you as well, that reports, even by SAFE itself, show that the most complaint they get is that children are being subjected to corporal punishment in the schools. So clearly, a problem.
Now, one of the problems obviously is with regard to leniency, and that appears to be a problem, Karabo, as far as SAFE is concerned, that SAFE seem to be too lenient as far as meting out punishment to teachers, who are obviously found guilty of corporal punishment.
Yeah, so that's what we said. So I explained the sanctions that they received and the suspensions of the sentences. And our view is this, is that it's lenient, but the most problematic part is that, say for instance, and our courts and criminal proceedings do suspend sentences, but say for instance, in these instances, they've given these suspended sentences, right? They go right back into class. Whatever issue or whatever aggression that has made them meet out corporal punishment on learners has not been addressed. They're not sent for a rehabilitation kind of process. They're not sent for a positive discipline kind of course to actually deal with how they will be better when they go back to class. They just go back to class the way they go, and they receive that lenient sentences. And for the family of these children and for these children, it's like, well, it doesn't matter because they pled guilty and they were given these lenient sentences. And now you have other children being exposed again to that potential of being beaten again by these teachers. So that is very problematic. We do think that you have to consider the facts in every case. That's what we do in all instances, even in the criminal system. But what you want to do is that if somebody has a behavior that's leading to them being aggressive to children, and you're sending them back to the very children, surely you must put some measures to check on them, monitor them, take them for some course or something that will improve that behavior so that children are not at risk. And SAFE has failed totally in that regard.
Just how transparent is SAFE when it comes to them reaching certain decisions, when it comes to discipline of teachers, when it comes to disclosure?
Well, in this particular, the two cases, in both cases, we still don't have the records of the proceedings as we are approaching the court for the reviews of the process. Our attorney, Section 27, since 2019, had been asking SAFE for this. Finally, in 2020, when SAFE did eventually give the decision, they still did not give record of how they got to that. So they just say, well, the teachers pled guilty and this is the sentence that we gave them. So how did you arrive at that? Did you at least hear, decide, even if somebody pleads guilty, we know even in the criminal justice system, you have a process where somebody can do a statement in mitigation or in aggravation. Did they not allow the children to speak about how this affected them or the family, the mothers of the children at the very least, and then consider that before giving the sentence? That was not done. And now we have no record how they arrived at that decision.
Well, Karabo, thank you very much for that and for your time with us this morning. And we definitely will follow developments and see what comes out as far as the courts are concerned. But we thank you for your time with us here on News and Views on Salam Media.
Thank you for having us. Thank you, Kipwa.
Karabo Ozah joining us this morning and talking about corporal punishment to teachers in particular. And clearly, this is a problem when we're talking about 7% of the learner population in a survey in 2018. And there's close on to 1 million learners who say that they have been subjected to corporal punishment. We come back, we're going to be taking a look at the outrage over the 500 Rand late burial fee at a Muslim cemetery in Cape Town.
Osman's Taj Mahal Spice